Hey guys, Mighty Gazelle here with my review of Season 4 of My Hero Academia. First and foremost, I realize that this is much later than probably every other channel that covers My Hero Academia, but that doesn't matter to me. I want to get my thoughts out there as to what I thought about the whole season, just my own personal take, what I liked, what I didn't like. Did it live up to my expectations? Did it supersede them? Just kind of get my thoughts. Be a very casual video. This is not scripted. This is going to be off the top of my head. And yeah, I just want to give you guys my thoughts to the people who follow my channel. And yeah, should be a lot of fun. Been wanting to talk about this stuff for a while. So let's just dive on in. So before we get to the season itself, I guess a little perspective as to what I expected going into this season. Okay, so being a manga reader, I knew the content that Season 4 would be covering. I knew that it would be Overhaul. I knew all the stuff that would happen afterward, like the festival and stuff. I made a video before the season happened where I predicted what content the season would cover. So, again, I knew what was going to happen, but I kind of preferred it that way so I wouldn't get spoiled because obviously covering it on YouTube, I read all these comments. There's going to be someone who spoils something, and it's a good thing I can monitor all that stuff. So, going in, I'll be honest, in the manga, I was not the biggest Overhaul fan. I just never really clicked with him in terms of a villain that I could get behind that really, really interests me. I thought he was fine, but I knew that he just took up such a large section. Like, the Overhaul plotline is still one of, if not the largest plotline that we've had in My Hero Academia, even now in the manga. And that, so I wasn't really excited to see Overhaul, but I was still excited in general to see the season. And I was curious to see how they would bring that character to life. The stuff I was really excited for was the Gentle and La Brava stuff. I loved that stuff in the manga, and I was really eager to see that animated and voice acted, all that good stuff, as well as the festival. And I was really looking forward to the festival. So those are my thoughts kind of going in, and keep those in mind like as I talk about this. So the first half of the season, the Overhaul stuff, I think my first viewing of it, it really felt like it kind of dragged. There were episodes where not a lot happened, especially the very first episode of this season, which is typically a recap, sort of like filler episode. That was the case this time as well, but this time it was a little bit better than typical. We actually got kind of some fun stuff with the photographer. That was all right. It was fine. And then we get into the Night Eye and Miryo aspect of it. When I first heard Night Eye's voice actor, I remember I didn't go back and watch my reaction, but I remember being kind of taken aback by it. Like, I was like, that's interesting. I didn't expect Night Eye to sound like that. But upon rewatching it, as well as time went on, just watching it normally the first time, it really grew on me. I think that voice actor did a really good job with Night Eye, especially the scene that sold me was when it was showing the past, where it showed like Night Eye was at the hospital with All Might, and All Might's trudging through the hallway bleeding, and when he started yelling at All Might to please listen to him, like, I was like, damn, okay, I can see why they picked him. It was really, really well done. And by the time his story came to a close with his passing, obviously if you're watching this, you don't care about spoilers, so you already know that happens. By the time that was concluded, by the way, his death scene was also very well voice acted. I was really happy about that. It felt really, really well done. They brought his story to life properly, I thought, in the anime. But going into the Overhaul stuff, the one thing that really surprised me greatly about how well they did it in the anime, I really, really felt for Eri. You obviously really feel for her in the manga too. It's really, really sad. A lot of great emotion there, but for whatever reason, I feel like they just hit the right emotional notes when Eri was on screen in the anime this season, and that really helped tie things together for the Overhaul arc, I thought. It made you hate Overhaul more as a character. It made you really feel for the anguish that Deku and Miryo had for not being able to save her. And it was just that emotional chord that really strung the entire plot together. And that's really good because, like I said, in the manga, I wasn't a huge fan of Overhaul himself. I thought he had a cool design and stuff, but I just didn't really care about his motives, and like it just felt very meh to me. Now, talking about Overhaul himself, so again, kind of like Night Eye, when I first heard the voice, it was kind of interesting. I do remember specifically, I thought, wow, he's got like not nearly as intimidating as a voice as I would have expected. But here's the thing. As time went on, especially toward like the fights with Miryo and stuff, you could really hear the character deteriorate into the monster that he really was. And I just it clicked with me why they picked the voice the way they did, because you could have like a guy who's really intimidating and then later on just be even more intimidating, but instead you get his voice early on. It's like, that's kind of interesting. It's not bad by any means. It's just interesting choice. But then you hear the way as he gets more and more frustrated, it gets more and more filthy, as more and more things don't go his way. Just the way that he broke down, and especially during the fights and stuff, you could really just it really gave the character something that I didn't get in the manga. It gave him that like coating of almost like childish like tantrum, but in a collapsed, like he's collapsing, like everything that he was building in his life was collapsing, and I could really tell that in the performance. So by the end, I really, really loved how they did that. Great stuff. Now, I still don't really like Overhaul that much as a villain, but it was better in the anime, I thought, than the manga. I understood him more a little bit. I really got a feeling of more of what kind of persona he was. And in general, I was really happy with it. Really, really, really good. That being said, I still kind of felt like that first half the season, there was a lot of talking. There was especially that episode where it's all of them in the police headquarters with Night Eye giving them a detailed layout of all the information and stuff. Around that time, it just felt really slow. But again, rewatching it, I'll talk about rewatching it later. The stuff that was great, the stuff that was really good. Kirishima's episode was one of the most anticipated moments for me in the entire season. I think it was my most anticipated moment, I think. They've nailed it. That is a top 3 My Hero Academia episode for me. I can't remember his name off the top of my head. Kirishima's voice actor killed it. It was so good. That's one of the best dub performances of the entire series, was that episode. It was so magnificent. You could really feel the emotion that Kirishima was going through. The animation in that fight was so good. Fat Gum was also amazing. That episode by itself, the reason I like that episode so much, it reminds me of Deku versus Todoroki in season 2, which is tied with this episode as my second favorite episode of the series. One being All Might versus All for One, his final fight. That's my favorite one. But that one, the Todoroki and Deku fight, and this one are tied for me. And the reason is, it's a fight that's interwoven with a backstory of emotion that come to a head during the fight. And that's when My Hero is really at its best, is when it ties this character development into the fights, where it's not just a fight. They do it really well later in the season 2 with Gentle and the Bravo. I'll talk about that later. But yeah, that episode was just so good. I thought Amajiki's fight was okay. I kind of felt like that was one that was better in the manga, to be honest, because I feel like they kind of try to cram a lot in like that episode, and it didn't always work. It was good. It was a good episode. It was like an 8 out of 10, but not perfect. I just felt like the pacing was kind of off during the fight. If you watch my reaction to that episode, I kind of explain it at the end, I think. I was like, no, it was kind of a weird like way to pace the fight, but it was still good. So all that stuff, very, very good. And then we get to so Miryo versus Overhaul. This is a touchy subject, because when I was doing that reaction video, I remember the comments. A lot of people were really unhappy with the way that episode went down. And honestly, like, when I first watched it, it really caught me off guard when they did the when Miryo went into the fight and it cut to the like slideshow of the fight and him protecting Eri. And at the time, I thought I was okay with it. It was cool, but I was like, you know what, that was kind of weird pacing. But I've rewatched that stuff a few times again, and I kind of like it now. Like, some people might think that it's lazy the way they did it, but I don't know. I think emotionally it kind of works, and I'm kind of okay with it personally. I don't know. But like the fighting leading up to it was really, really well done. I loved his fight with the drunk guy and the guy the confession guy. That was really awesome. Miryo's stuff was really great. They got his backstory in there pretty good too, and that was pretty good overall. I'd say that was nearly perfect. The Miryo stuff, really, really well done. By the way, Miryo's voice actor is also phenomenal. So then we get to Deku versus Overhaul. Again, like I said, I'm not personally the biggest fan of Overhaul as the character, but this is where his voice actor, and by the way, this is dub. I should have said at the beginning. I'm talking about this whole season in terms of the dub, because it's just kind of my angle I'm kind of approaching this. And so yeah, he was really great as he started really to break down at this point. And Deku comes in, saves Miryo, and honestly, the greatest part of all this climax, the part that got me the most emotional, was when Eri is going down the hallway with Miryo, and Overhaul uses the confession voice to call out to Eri, and he's making her reveal all the truths that she doesn't believe in them and all that. I got shivers like in my body. I got that was like, holy shit, that's just crazy. I really felt that moment. I felt more in that moment than like the rest of the entire like climax of this first part of the season. Speaking of which, the rest was really great. I was real like, this is one of those moments a lot of fans were really eager to see brought to life, and it's the point where Deku goes 100% with Eri healing him as he's injuring himself, so he's able to do it. It did not disappoint. It was kind of different than I thought they would interpret it. I don't really know how to explain it. Like, the fight choreography was just different than I expected they would bring it to life, but it was still really good. The animation was phenomenal during this part. Like, I love the part where Deku has the Thousand's Fist, and you just see the Thousand Fist hitting Overhaul, and then a few seconds later, then it shows the impact of the fist. Just wonderful stuff. That fight was great. A lot of people were on that video were like, "Oh, this is the best fight of all time of like the show." I wouldn't go that far. It was really, really good, but I'd personally put All Might versus All for One, Deku versus Todoroki, Kirishima, and then the Bakugo versus Deku round 2 as like the top 4. That might shuffle around a bit, but yeah. So the first half, the Overhaul arc, better than I was anticipating it to be overall, because like I said, I wasn't the biggest fan of that section in the manga, but when they brought it to life, they improved more than was detracted, and I was pleasantly surprised by the voices they picked for all this stuff. Like I said early on, when I first heard them, I was like, huh, interesting, but it grew on me and got really, really good. And now like when I rewatch it, I'm just happy from the beginning now because I just know they do a really, really good job. And props to all of them. The reason I watch the dub is I feel like these people work so hard to bring these characters to life, and I don't know. Ever since I watched the first season, I always support them. I love the dub of this show. It's really, really good. Okay, then we get to the second half of the season. So how would I recap this? So there's really three main things. There's the license remake test thing with Bakugo and Todoroki. I'll go ahead and say it. I'm not a big fan of that part. I wasn't a big fan of it. I was actually kind of enjoying it in the manga, but this is back when I was like cruising through the chapters in the manga, reading them, and I was just really enjoying that stuff. But seeing it brought in the anime, it was kind of like it kind of slowed things down, especially after all the hype stuff that happened with Overhaul. And it's fine. I have no problem with the show getting slow again, because obviously that's how a good show works. You have build up to crazy action, and then you got to have a cooldown. And this is very much the cooldown. But for whatever reason, I just didn't really care too much about it outside of the great speech that All Might has with Endeavor. Endeavor's asking All Might what it means to be number one, to be a beacon. And I love the interaction. In my eyes, that is Endeavor's first step, his first real true step to becoming a better man. A lot of people think it's the fight at the end of the season, but to me, that is the moment really where it shows Endeavor shows interest of becoming a better person, to not just be what he is. And that was really, really well done. I was looking forward to that moment. It's kind of a small moment, and not a lot of people draw attention to it, but I think it's so important for Endeavor, and I was really, really happy with how they did that. Okay, so that stuff happened, and then we get into the Gentle and the Brava stuff. Please, if you didn't watch this season in dub, like any of it or just parts of it, please listen to the performance that Gentle brings to the table. It's so perfect. Fans of One Piece, you'll know him. He's Hawkeye Mihawk in that show. But he's just such a perfect freaking choice for this character. And he just has so much fun with it. You can really tell. Like, he just brings his A game to that character. And Gentle is such an interesting... He's kind of in that weird realm of like... So you have heroes, you have villains, and then somewhere in the middle, it's this nebulous where you have people like Stain, and you have people like Gentle who are just kind of floating around, like, and that's the fun domain. That's a fun place to be in. Stain is great. I love Stain, and I love Gentle. They're not really the same themselves, but they kind of are. They're kind of like doing their own thing, but for their own reasons. It's fun. They're not a hero or a villain. They're their own entity, and it's great. And La Brava, really, really cute backstory. They brought that to life really well. And definitely got a lot of emotion out of me from those two. The fight with Deku and Gentle, it was fine. It was exactly how I'd expected to be brought to life from the manga. Like it wasn't better than or worse than I expected. It was what I expected when it was brought to life, and it was really good. Now I think it's important to mention this for historical facts. This was around the time when the pandemic hit the world and it was sweeping over. And at this point, the dub got delayed because, well, what do you know? People couldn't go into the studios to work. So all this was done from people's homes, from whatever. It was around like 2 episodes before the Gentle La Brava or Gentle versus Deku fight. I can't remember. I think it was like 6 episodes left of the season. The rest were all done from inside the homes of the actors. And honestly, like I maybe could tell 1, maybe 2 scenes that it was done from home, but truthfully, they did such a good job. I could never really notice other than like one time, and they did such a good job. But these are all like professionals, and I'm sure they have a nice home setup and stuff. But they really did a good job, and I think some props should be given to them. That's not an easy work environment to do, especially because you're like working with people over the phones and Skype calls and stuff. That's got to be so difficult, and you got to like record it. But they did a great job. So very happy with them that they were able to do that. And yeah, so the Gentle or Bravo stuff, great. And then we get to the tail end of the season with the UA Sports Festival and Endeavor's fight. The UA Sports Festival, overall, very pleased with how it went down. I will say, like, just as much as I loved the song and the way they animated, like, the singing and the dancing and the performance, I gotta give the edge to the manga here. The manga had, like, what I assume was some sort of strobe light, like, scene or something. There was a lot of great scenes where it was all the characters were drawn very, like, sketched like, and it gave the impression that, like, they were either in like some sort of the rave lights or something was going on, but the anime never really like covered that. I guess, like, they have to go by different guidelines. I understand, like, that's why they dim some scenes in anime, because it's for seizure prevention and stuff like that. But yeah, I give the edge to the manga here. That was it was kind of a little bit more hype in the manga, but I still really enjoyed it in the anime. I've said really a lot, but I mean, I really liked this season. It was really good. Okay, so by the way, really interesting how the song they used was English in both the Japanese and dubbed version of the show. I thought that's interesting, because typically you hear songs in Japanese, but I can't even imagine what it's like to live in Japan and listen to that song in English. That'd be kind of a cool experience. If any of you do live in Japan or primarily speak Japanese, was that a cool experience for you? Please let me know down below. I'm curious. And then we get to the most recent episodes that both debuted last week. The Billboard chart episode and Endeavor. So the Billboard chart episode. I really am happy with the choices that they picked for some of these new heroes in this episode. And there's something I kind of want to bring up, because it's something I've kind of noticed the past few days. I just kind of want to give my quick opinion on it. I don't want to make a huge deal about this, but people are very fired up about Mirko's voice actor being revealed. And there's a lot of very mean-spirited people on Twitter who are not happy with it. Obviously, a lot of people are happy with it. I really liked it. If you watched my review or my reaction, I think it's awesome. I still want to hear her in like a yelling scene, because she's going to have a lot of those later on. But I think it's a great voice and very promising for the future. But I don't know. I'm just seeing a lot of like hateful things on Twitter amongst other places. That's common, I know. But people are like very upset. Like, she doesn't sound like the way they wanted her to sound. People are saying, "Oh, she sounds like not as deep as the Japanese version," which I haven't heard the Japanese version yet. So I can't compare that. But I don't know. I just want everyone to know that I personally really like the choice they did for Mirko, and I just, that's a character that deserves the justice of having a good voice, and I think they picked a good one. Crust. People were telling me in the comments it's the same voice as Spinner. Very cool. That's a great choice as well. We heard Washi Washer's voice, or whatever his name. I can't remember. Is it Washer? I don't know. We heard his voice, her voice. I don't know. Who else did we see? We saw the armored old samurai guy. He sounded cool. And then we got the great scene with Endeavor and Hawks. Now, this is Hawks' debut performance in terms of his voice actor and stuff. Well, not debut. The new movie, he was in the new movie. But for the anime. Great. Again, great choice. He was fantastic. But then we get, I love the Endeavor Hawks back and forth stuff. It's stuff we're going to be seeing a lot in the future. These two have a very interesting relationship. And I love when Hawks makes a big scene because he's like the hot shot and he's saying that like, blah, blah, blah. He's just stirring up the crowd. And he hands the mic to Endeavor and he's like, you take it away, bud. And then Endeavor goes up there and he's just like, just watch me. It's just awesome. Really, really great. And then we cut to the finale. The finale of season 4. Endeavor fighting the high-end Nomu. Now, I, just like many other fans, loved the ever-living shit out of the manga part of this. It was so cool, and we were all dying to see it brought to life in the anime. I didn't expect they would be able to fit this fight in to this season, but they did. And I will say it kind of shows, there's aspects to this that make it kind of feel like maybe they should have waited to open season like season 5 with this. And what I mean, I'll talk about that in a moment, but like the high end sounded, moved, looked, acted just so awesome in this, and it proved such a great fight for Endeavor. The imagery of like the people down below and like the waves of heat flying through the city and like the burning light that is Endeavor in the sky, all just such great stuff. I love the parallel between it and All Might's fight, where people were very calm in All Might's, like watching the TV and stuff, but with Endeavor's, you have people panicking and running, minus the one character who people were telling me is voiced by Todd Haberthorn, or is it Hackerthorn? I don't want to butcher the name, but apparently he's a very well-known voice actor, very popular. He voices Natsu from Fairy Tail. People were very excited. I didn't catch it because I didn't watch Fairy Tail in dub, but very, very cool for people who are fans of that. He's got one loyal fan, voiced by him down there, screaming, "No, dude, look, he's fighting for us." And it was it was really, really well done. I loved the way they played with our emotions during that fight. And especially the tie-in with Todoroki's mom saying that, like, you know, Endeavor is kind of a scumbag, but he does care. He is trying. And like when the kids are all and the students are watching him fight, and All Might's watching him fight. And dude, you see Endeavor cough up blood, and then he's got like the flame appearing on the eyes. Imagery was on point. The fight was awesome. Endeavor kicked so much ass. And what I mean when I say like it felt kind of crammed is because like I would have preferred this to be in season 5 only because like starting from when they're in the sky and he like burns up the Nomu with that really, really cool, like he's like, I hate this school motto, but I'm gonna go beyond, and like plus ultra, like the fire burst, that was great. From that moment on, it just felt like, okay, we're running out of time here, we gotta like end the episode, because they kind of did do that. And what I mean is like they crash on the ground, and then it immediately cuts to Endeavor like holding up the arm, and then it just kind of ends there. But for anyone who's read the manga, you know, like stuff happens pretty quick after that. I'm not gonna say what, but like stuff happens very quick around Endeavor, and it just felt odd. Like that's the cutoff. You know, it feels like you're in the middle of a steak. Not even the middle of the steak. You're like 3/4 done with the steak. You're feeling good, and you see the end of the steak, and you're just, oh, I'm gonna attack that last of the steak. It's gonna fill me up perfectly. And you don't get it though. You don't get it because like they ran out of time. That's like my only complaint with it. For anyone who's read the manga, maybe you'll agree with me, maybe you won't. That's just kind of my personal take on it. But the fight was great, and then the after credits with Deku seeing the vestiges. Stuff is gonna get very. Let's just say that the music festival was kind of a last hurrah for like innocence of this show, because a lot of stuff's going to be happening in the future, and enjoy. I hope you enjoyed it because things are about to get very serious. Well, there's still going to be a lot of fun. Don't get me wrong, but like in general, the tone is just going to get kind of darker and darker from here on out. So, yeah. So, that's kind of what I thought about the whole season. Again, this is from a viewpoint of a dub watcher, an English watcher. What did I think? If I were to grade it out of 10, I'd say an 8. The good stuff, or the great stuff, was really great. Again, that Kirishima episode is a top 3 episode for me. No question. No question whatsoever in my mind. Top 3 episode. The music festival was great. Endeavor's fight was freaking awesome, minus the complaints that I had. Like, there was a lot of great moments, but there was a lot of kind of downtime that, like, obviously you're going to get downtime, but it felt really slow. I loved the stuff with All Might saying twist fate with Deku, like twist the fate of the future. That's all great, but like, I don't know. In my eyes, the only perfect season that My Hero Academia has ever had is 2. I feel like 2 was just so damn perfect in terms of animation and all the fights, the storytelling. 3 and 4 have both been very good. I'd put both in like the 8 to 9 category. They both have moments of sheer perfection, but have little sprinkled moments of like meh. That's just me personally talking. But that being said, season 5, if it has the content that I and many other fans think it's gonna have, it should prove to be one of the best the show has ever had, honestly speaking. By the way, I like to talk about the My Hero Academia manga, so if you want to join our Discord, there'll be a link in the description. Go check it out. Also, follow my Twitter. I'm trying to build up that Twitter base. I don't know why I gave that random shout out now. But yeah, just a lot of cool, great stuff coming up, and the manga has been kicking ass lately. I hope you guys have been checking out my weekly manga chapter reviews. This week has a hiatus. But we should be getting one this upcoming Friday, which is exciting. So, season 4 was very enjoyable, and it lived up to what the manga had, and it excelled in some areas. In other areas, it just kind of did the bare minimum, I guess. Overall, I was very happy with it, and so if I had to rank the seasons, 2 is at top. 3 and 4 are so like close because the first half of 3 was so damn good, but then like the second half of 3 is really mixed. It has the highlight of Deku versus Bakugo round 2, obviously. I'd probably okay. I can't definitively put one. I might put 4 ahead of 3. I don't know. I'd have to think about that for a while. 1, this is gonna sound weird. I put 1 at the bottom, but with the caveat, I don't think it's fair to compare that to the other seasons. It's so much different. It's half the length. The budget wasn't there yet. And it was only really about Deku and All Might, as it should have been. That's kind of what the beginning of the series is. I don't think it's fair to compare that one to the other seasons, personally. It's great. I love season 1. It's just not really fair to compare it, I don't think. But yeah. So I'm eagerly anticipating 5. I hope it somehow challenges season 2 as the top spot in my personal ranking. And yeah, I'm just... So, again, I know this review is coming out late. Compared to other channels that cover My Hero. I don't even know how many people are going to watch this video. Not only how many are going to click on the video, how many people are going to watch to the end right here. To all of you who are watching to the end, thank you. You guys are great. I apologize for the lighting. I'm recording this at night, and I still just have a shitty setup for light. I have a ceiling light right there, and then I got a light directly over there, and it's just casting the best it can on me. Yeah, but by all means, please leave your thoughts down below as to what you thought about the season. How would you rank the seasons, and how would you grade each one? And then, what was your favorite moments of this season? What was your favorite episode? Was Overhaul and Deku your favorite fight of all time? Was Endeavor versus the High End your favorite fight of all time? Yeah, I guess I'll rank the fights of this season real quick. Number one, Kirishima and Fat Gum versus Rappa. I just love that episode. I don't know. I'm biased, I guess, because Mina's in that episode too, I guess. But that's number one. Number two, Endeavor versus the High End. Three, Deku versus Overhaul, and then four, Gentle versus Deku. Okay, I think I covered everything I want to talk about in this. Yeah, please leave your thoughts down below. Thank you guys for watching, and can't wait to watch season 5 with all of you. Until next time, this has been Mighty Gazelle, hoping you all have a mighty day. See you guys.